Just needs a second. Okay, that's done. Okay, I think we're about ready to start. I'm going to record this. Okay. All righty. Welcome, everybody. So glad to have you here. We have some great guests. My name is John Mudd. I'm the chair of this meeting. And let's get right into it. I'll pop up the agenda and we'll run through it real quick. Okay, so today we have Jack Lester, who's pursuing to block the Midtown South Mixed Use plan, and we're a plaintiff on that. We have Kshama Sawant in the house, and she's a very progressive, running for representative office again. She was a council person in Seattle, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong. And we have the folks from No More 24 that will be coming in too as well. Let's see. We're here, of course, with the speakers to share knowledge and ideas and resources to identify problems and find solutions to the homeless and housing and health crises. We have no policy meeting. We haven't really decided what to latch on to, but we're getting there. Special introductions, we'll run through that really quick. Alex, you want to, do you have anything on your agenda?
Well, not really. Our last guest was from the Right to Counsel Coalition, where the idea is to hook up tenants with a free attorney in housing court. And you can just go to our YouTube for that. And, I just want to say, so that we don't have a repeat of last month's kind of chaotic chaos, can we do stack? So if you want to talk, and we do want to hear from you, just type stack, STACK, into the chat, and I will keep track of the last 3 people that I noticed on stack.
That sounds great. I appreciate that. Rob is not here today. He's traveling. Rob Robinson, he's fighting the good fight. Anything on public housing? Anything you want to mention, Len or Caitlin? Just to let you know, we're fighting against the demolition of public housing over in Chelsea. We're connecting with a lot of other public housing. It's been a hard battle. We've been at it for a while. We've got a couple of legal suits pending, and we'll be starting some other actions. I
could say something, John.
Go ahead.
If that's okay.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
no one else wants to. So just to say that, right now the courts have blocked, and it's really important to know, the courts have blocked the demolition, which means that tenants cannot be harassed, they cannot be evicted, they cannot be pressured to relocate, they cannot start construction or demolition. And, sometimes those things are still happening. And so, in our coalition, we're trying to support and tenants to basically say something if they see something. So people they saw workers in hazmat suits at near Fulton, and so this is the just the kind of thing we know that Related and Essence and NYCHA are trying to push forward. I guess I also think, I see Renee is on the call, just jumping in. So don't want to put you on the spot, Renee, but we're just talking about like the kind of update on what's happening. So I was talking about the lawsuit and about how that is blocking the demolition. And The other thing that was really meaningful is we've had the special election for our city council. And I guess there's more than one thing to say about that. That happened last week, and we're expecting the results from the ranked choice vote to kind of see how it all plays out. But the winner right now is Carl Wilson, who was Eric Botcher's chief of staff and is very much in favor of the related Essence NYCHA redevelopment and demolition proposal. However, what I would say is quite important is that Leila Law-Gisako, who is the only candidate who is really opposing very vocally, passionately the demolition proposal, did win by a landslide in Fulton, Elliott, and Chelsea houses, and also at Penn South, which is the community that's neighboring across the street from Elliott Chelsea. So in some ways, you could say it's even a referendum on public housing. That's the concerns. So within our community that is cares about Chelsea's public housing, we voted for Leila and against Carl. But this primary is still in June, so we're still really actively trying to support Leila and really to do more public education and get the word out in other communities, Hell's Kitchen, and the Village. I don't know if others have more to say about. Maybe Renee Kite is the president of the Elliott Chelsea Residents Association and part of Fulton Elliott Chelsea Tenants Against Demolition, might have something more to say.
Renee, anything to add?
No, all I can add is Fulton houses and Elliott Chelsea houses came out, voted in numbers, and basically let you know that this is not what we want. We don't want to be demolished. We want to continue to live here. I'm sure people will say you would still continue to live here, but reduced to 3 buildings out of the 13, at least in Elliott Chelsea, that we have. And over the 18 that are actually in Fulton houses, because they consider 2 of our buildings one, even though there are separate entrances and addresses. So basically, yeah, we support Leila. We will continue to support Leila. She is the only candidate who says no to demolition. There's nothing wrong with the word no. It's a very powerful word, and we should continue to say that. And Penn South as well, because they will be the next target. An older community, a well-established community, has at least 6 blocks of prime real estate in Chelsea, land that they will consider underutilized and do their best to get at it. So this is a fight for not just public housing, but it's a fight for the west side of Manhattan, which has been given away piece by piece. And it's time to start taking it back. And this is where the fight begins and where it really centers.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Renee. Yeah, I feel like this is the battlefront really right here. The developers have their grips around the New York City. You see what they're doing here, and you see what they're doing afar. I mean, they just want the resources and land, and you're absolutely so. This is the battlefront really. We have our issues with rent control, rent stabilized. We have our trouble with housing. We have none. Anyway, with that, thank you, Renee. Unless you have something to add, I'm moving on. Okay. All right. Let's get back to the agenda and let me see, share. Yep. All right. Let's see. Stock Transfer Act updates. we can let that sit. We don't need to really talk about that, but it's one of our tools we're going to be using we're going to try and push this through. We've been speaking to a lot of folks, even in the UK, where they actually had instituted this tax. They're willing to help us. And we can tie that in with the public housing. So when someone says, how are we going to pay for it? And there's lots of other answers to that question too. And we're looking at some strategies to answer that question. They like to propose that question all the time. Other new attendees? Do we have any new attendees that want to introduce yourselves? Okay. I'm going to move to Kshama.
Sorry, John.
Go
John, yeah, just in terms of introducing, there's Alberto here who lives in New York City, and he's a member of my organization, Workers Strike Back, and maybe he can introduce himself.
Sure. Yeah, you're talking about Alberto? Okay, yeah, perfect. We're going to come right to your agenda. We're going to introduce you and Alberto. Alberto is, go ahead, Alberto. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay, sure. Hi, I'm Alberto. I'm a member of Workers Strike Back, which is the organization that is working on Kshama's congressional campaign. We here in New York, we've attended a few things regarding the FEC tenants. We went to one of the public tenant union meetings. We went to one of the rallies in front of the buildings, and we also have a petition against the demolition, and Kshama also wrote a statement in solidarity with the tenants. We're very much against the demolition of public housing and the privatization of public housing, and we also, Kshama, as she will speak in a little bit, has experience dealing with attacks on public housing in Seattle when she was a city council member. So basically, we're an organization that is trying to popularize or bring to the table the kinds of tactics that were used during Kshama's tenure as a city council member in Seattle to fight not just against attacks on public housing, but for many different kinds of working class victories, like minimum wage victories, tenants' rights victories in general. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks.
Great. Thank you for being here. And now over to Kshama Sawant, a socialist. I love that term, socialist, real socialist. And Kshama, you want to take it away? You have some points. I know we want to talk about the governance and how it's going wrong, and I'm sure you have some talking points you want to get into. Go right ahead.
Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate for Alberto and me to be able to join you all. I'm really glad that Renee is here as well. I've never met any of you in person, but I've been reading a lot about your struggle against the demolition and privatization of the public housing in New York, and we strongly supported our organization Workers Strike Back and our campaign for the U.S. Congress. We strongly support your struggle, and we have a real desire to help you all as much as we are able to, and that's why I'm really glad that Alberto can join us, has been able to join us as well, because he is right there in New York City with you all. I live in Seattle, but we wanted to share some of the strategies that we have used in Seattle to fight against similar attacks on public housing. Obviously, a lot of these programs for public housing were won in the 1930s, 40s, 50s through militant labor struggle. The NYCHA housing is the last remaining big substantial proportion of public housing. Most of it has been lost over the last decades, as we know. So yeah, I was hoping that maybe we could share some of the history of how we were able to fight back successfully against a similar attack, not exactly the same, but a similar attack about 10 years ago, and if to what extent that might be helpful, and some ideas of how we can help the struggle there in New York City. But first of all, I just wanted to start by congratulating you all for the success you've already had. As was mentioned earlier, the court injunction against the demolition, which is really important, which gives us some breathing room to strategize. And also wanted to congratulate all the tenant organizing that Renee and others have done. All of that is extremely important. I mean, organizing the rank and file tenants will absolutely be the backbone of anything that we can win here. And just to also share that when we look at the history of what's happened to public housing in the last many decades, they say, and this is obviously I'm not saying anything that you don't already know, and I'm sure I'll learn many things today before I leave. But from just the history that we have looked at in our own struggle in Seattle, which is that they always say, I mean, the mayor now in New York is saying this. We've heard other elected officials say this, that that the housing is not actually going to be lost, that somehow out of the goodness of their heart, real estate developers, for-profit real estate developers, all of these guys who are otherwise absolutely exploiting working class and poor people in using housing as a way to actually make massive profits, somehow suddenly they have all this goodness in their heart that they want to redevelop this and make this into really habitable homes, and then we are going to get them back, the tenants are going to get them back at affordable rates. That is simply not going to happen. And they, one of the biggest lies, perhaps the biggest lie, the biggest false promise they're making is 1-for-1 replacement, which has never happened. Every time such demolition and privatization has happened to previously publicly owned rent controlled housing, that has meant that only a small fraction of the housing is left over, and most of the rest of it is given on a golden platter to these private equity firms and all of these billionaires and multimillionaires. And that is exactly the kind of process that's at play here. And that's why it is so crucial that you all have stood up against that, the tenants are standing up against that, the FEC tenants. And it's really important that we're fighting back. And to quickly share how we fought back in Seattle. In 2014, actually, this was a federal program that came forward, actually, unfortunately, from the Obama administration. They called it Moving to Work. And this was a plan to massively increase public housing rent, which in our view was only the first step towards demolition and privatization. They weren't able to carry it out in Seattle. That's a different story, but that was the plan. I think if they were initially going to increase the rents dramatically, which would automatically push many of those tenants out, because they were never going to be able to afford those new rents, and then they were going to eliminate those rent controlled homes, publicly owned homes. And so moving to work was a neoliberal attack that was happened on a national scale on the little public and affordable housing. And the Seattle incarnation of this federal program, Moving to Work, was given the Orwellian name of Stepping Forward. And if Stepping Forward had been allowed, it would have increased the rents for 4,600 working class and poor tenants. These are poor families, many of them immigrant, most of them communities of color, of Seattle Housing Authority, which was the Seattle incarnation of the Public Housing Authority, by a stunning 400%. So they were planning to increase the rents by 400%. And at the meetings, they call them information sessions. At that time, 12 years ago, they would say things, absurd things like, well, we need to incentivize going and looking for better jobs. So if we increase the rents for these housing units, somehow it is going to inspire these tenants to go and look for better jobs, quote unquote better jobs, as if these people are not already working hard, so many of them 2 jobs, as if they're just sitting and swatting flies. It was completely insulting and condescending to these working class people. But the idea was that, if you can get better jobs, then you can afford these higher rents. And so if we increase your rent, it will incentivize you to go and look for better jobs. The whole thing being premised on this completely anti-poor, anti-working class idea that you people are just lazy and you need to go and look for better jobs. There was so much anger against this program. The tenants were not fooled for 1 second. But unfortunately, the Democratic Party, which controls the city of Seattle, and every other city council member is a Democrat. I was the only socialist on the city council at that time. We had just won the nation's first major city $15 an hour minimum wage. And actually, Seattle's minimum wage, because we won inflation increases, now is the highest minimum wage in the nation at $21.30. But anyway, we had already proven our class struggle-based fighting strategy to some real great success. We won this historic victory. And just a couple of months later, the Stepping Forward program came up. So the tenants knew that we had already won the historic minimum wage victory. They had seen us fight back and actually be successful. So they all came to my office, came to me and said, we need to fight against this. Are you willing to stand with us? And of course, we said, absolutely, we stand with you. And so what we did was we organized hundreds of these tenants, including their children, and so many of their family members who didn't live in public housing also came and joined them. And what we did was, in these so-called information sessions, they were meant to just get these tenants in line. They were meant to be all these nice, the Seattle Housing Authority executive director is going to spout off all this nonsense. People are just going to listen to them and then go home. What we did was we turned these information sessions into a battleground. So we organized placards, we organized slogans, we even taught these tenants how to chant, because they'd never participated in any kind of political action. And so we literally did political training beforehand, and then we brought all the tenants to these information sessions, and then we took over those information sessions. We basically took them over and shut them down. We didn't allow them to go on talking about their whole Stepping Forward program. We actually fought back against them. So just to give you a concrete example, so when this guy, the executive director, he started talking about how tenants can get better jobs to afford these higher rents, we started chanting, where are the jobs? Show me the jobs. Where are the jobs? Show me the jobs. Just completely took them aback. They were not able to run these meetings at all. And so for every information session that we did, we turned it into a protest action. And then the last one that they had scheduled, we had planned, and we carried out this plan really successfully, to not only shut down the meeting, but we were going to do a walkout. So we carried out a walkout. We chanted and we walked out of the meeting with hundreds of the tenants. And then we held a parallel tenants' rights meeting, organizing meeting in a basketball court in that same community center where their formal meeting was going on. And we completely disabled them from actually doing any of their whatever they were trying to do, which is carry out this increase in rents program, Stepping Forward. And so because of those actions, we were able to really empower those tenants. And then we brought a lot of the hundreds of tenants to public comment in City Hall, to give public testimonials, but not as if, please, council members, do the right thing. Instead, in a fighting way, saying, shame on you, you call yourself progressive, and you're allowing this program to happen. Because at that time, every single Democratic city council member, and also the mayor, who's also a Democrat, they had all agreed on to this Stepping Forward. They were all hand in glove in this. And so we brought the tenants' voice there and said, shame on you, you call yourself progressive and you're supporting this program, which is a pipeline to homelessness. And then we also, in addition to doing the public comment there, we also took hundreds of tenants upstairs on the 7th floor in City Hall to the mayor's office, and we demanded that the mayor meet with us. And he never deigned to meet with us, but his staff was forced to come, and they could see the writing on the wall. They could see that the tenant organizing had come to such a point they had my city council office, me as a city council member, on their side and organizing them. I was not just on their side, I was actually organizing them. They could see the writing on the wall. They could see that they were simply not going to be able to carry forward this program called Stepping Forward. And then a few weeks after those actions, they announced that they were completely retracting that program. So it was like 100% success that we won because of this type of what we call class struggle-based fighting strategy. So we wanted to, I'll stop here, but just to say, we wanted to see if we can help in that way, just to add to what you all already have done. I mean, the legal work that you have done, the tenant organizing that Renee is doing, all of that is super crucial. We want to help with that. And as Alberto said, we've been tabling outside the tenant meetings. I believe Alberto was also invited by Renee to speak at the tenant meeting. We have a petition. We can share all of that. Basically, the petition says a similar message that I just said, that, you know, we need to fight back. And then one last thing I'll mention is maybe we can also organize tenants speak out, what we call City Hall speak out. At City Hall, at one of the committees, we can bring, if we can bring dozens of tenants there to do what we did in Seattle, that would be a really great starting point for the sort of the organizing that we're talking about. And thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
No, it's great. We've gathered at we've done a lot of what you're saying. We've gathered at the hearings. We've had some press conferences, outreach, rallies. We've done a lot of that. We still need to keep it up. We still need to do more. Something you've said about taking over is really interesting. It sounds like you're an aggressive progressive, but I think that's something I don't think we've attempted. We've certainly got fired up in meetings. We certainly gathered people there. We certainly were outraged and we shouted them down. But to take over the meeting in such a way where you're running it when they have. We've done it. We've done that a couple of times. Actually, we've had some really great outreach, because what they would do is they'd have these meetings, but they wouldn't really do the outreach. They wanted certain people there, a small group or whatever, and they wanted to control the meeting, of course. But when we did the outreach, we brought people in. They were angry and they voiced their opinions. We shouted Nadler out of the room before. So I think these things are good, but we haven't yet to like take over the meeting. And then I think I'm just curious. I would be intimidated with the police there, with the security guard, to actually take it over. And is that what you came, like when you say you took over the meeting, did they have all that? Did they have that presence? Did they have the security and the police? And were you successful in actually running it, or just controlling the atmosphere, maybe ending the meeting?
Yeah, if I can just respond to that. First of all, congratulations on shutting down Jerry Nadler. I mean, I think that's really powerful. It's really empowering for tenants to be able to do that. I really appreciate hearing about all the actions that you've already done, John. Yeah, there were police when we carried out the actions here. There were a lot of security guards. It's possible that it's going to be much more amplified there in New York City. I mean, everything is going to be on a larger scale in New York compared to Seattle. Seattle is a much smaller city. So yeah, we have to be strategic. We don't want to be reckless in any way. The one thing I'll say is that the reason we were able to do this successfully, despite all the intimidating presence of the police department, is that we had done a lot of what I would call pre-organizing before we did the action at those meetings, where we had already politically prepared the tenants to understand what they are up against, what we are all up against. That that don't have what one of the things we had said is, don't have any illusions in the police department. The police are not on our side. This is capitalism. The police department protects the property of the wealthy, and it protects the politicians who represent the wealthy. And so they represent that, they are there to look out for the Democrats and Republicans and the politicians, not you, not us. And so let's be clear about who's on our side and who's not, and that the only way we will be able to overcome these powerful forces if we all speak with one voice. And that is why it's important for you to come out and show, add to your voice. So, for example, some of the tenants they really wanted to fight back, but they were so inexperienced. They were hesitant to come out and say it. They were afraid to raise their voice. They said, I've never done this before. And many of them were Somali women. They were single mom households. They were very afraid initially to stick their necks out. But we said, look, if we all stick our necks out together, then they are not going to be able to harm us in any way. And that's what we were able to accomplish, just everybody speaking together. And what did happen is that initially in the first meeting, some of them were very hesitant, but actually their kids, their teenage kids, they were the ones who started with us. They were really energized. They were not afraid. And then they ended up encouraging their own moms to speak up as well. And so with every subsequent meeting, our movement got stronger and stronger. And we also did other things like writing op-eds in the local newspapers, having, sending union members, union rank and file to speak at their own membership meetings to really pressure the union leadership to also support us. And so we got other quarters of support outside the tenant struggle. So sort of we broadened the struggle out into the city. We let other people know who are not in public housing say, hey, don't you agree that we need to save this public housing? Because if they increase rents here, it's going to affect all of us. So we all have a stake in saving this. So we broadening out the struggle and building wider working class solidarity also helped us strengthen the movement. And then it gave a real pushback against these people who were trying to put this forward.
Yeah, I agree with that so much, because we have been trying to build a coalition, and then of course after a few years, people get tired. They need a break, and it's really a struggle to sustain that and to keep growing. But we're doing it to a decent degree, and we could do it a lot better, I know. And people, other people with experience through these issues are very helpful. And does anybody have any other?
Yes. I have a question. Were you involved in Seattle's Prop 1A? Because 2 months ago, Ben Furlow, he came to New York, flew in to talk about Prop 1A, affordable housing in Seattle.
Oh, you're muted, Kshama. You went on mute. There
Sorry. Yes, we have been involved in Prop 1A, and actually to just share with you, Prop 1A came from really the Amazon tax that we were able to win through my office in 2020. That was the origination of everything. We won the first Amazon tax, which is a tax on the billionaire-owned corporations to raise money for affordable housing, publicly owned, rent-controlled affordable housing expansion. We won that first in 2018. But I have to be frank with you, a lot of the NGO leaders, labor leaders, and the progressive Democrats, they all played this role of what I would call gatekeeper, meaning they were having secret meetings with, and it's not a conspiracy. This is how capitalism works. Capitalism creates its own spokespeople among those people who you think should be on the side of the working class, and that's what we call gatekeepers. And so all of them, they kind of had all these discussions with these corporate lobbyists and Amazon lobbyists, and they helped undermine it. So within a month of us winning that first Amazon tax in 2018, the Democrats repealed it. I mean, it was the single most shameful moment of these Democratic Party politicians in City Hall. But then because Amazon and Jeff Bezos were encouraged by that, they smelled blood in the water. They thought, oh, we can go after me specifically because I was the only revolutionary socialist, and we had a long track record of winning for renters, and we had won the $15 wage, and big business and the billionaires hated me and my office. And so in 2019, in my re-election year, they really came after me. They spent they meaning the Amazon corporation, the billionaires, they spent millions of dollars. This is just a small city council race, and yet they spent millions of dollars trying to get me out of office. But we organized, again, our election campaigns themselves. This is not to make my own political career. We have a working class oriented class struggle approach to our election campaigning. And so we ran our campaign with the Amazon tax and rent control as the main demands. And we organized working class people. That is how we defeated the millions of dollars that Amazon tried to spend trying to defeat me. We won the re-election in 2019, and we had huge momentum behind our backs. And we used that momentum to launch the Tax Amazon movement in January of 2020. And then, of course, we all know, COVID happened, George Floyd happened. We had huge support for the Tax Amazon movement from the BLM, rank and file of the BLM movement. And we won the Amazon tax, which raises hundreds of millions of dollars every year for affordable housing. And it was on the basis of that Prop 1A was done. Prop 1A, unfortunately, raises a much smaller amount, 1/10 of the amount, but it's important. And Workers' Strike Back actually had a meeting. We democratically decide and vote on what things we're going to be fighting for. And so we voted to support Prop 1A, and we campaigned for it, and we were able to help it win. But we weren't the ones who initiated that.
Thank you.
I'm sure we can get your help on the stock transfer tax, right?
You're on mute.
Oh, I am?
No.
Sorry, what tax are you talking about, John?
The stock transfer tax. I'm sure you know about that?
Are you talking about the proposal that Mamdani and Hokul have come forward with?
No, stock transfer tax has been on the books. Right now, we're rebating money to the, basically there's always been a tax on stock trading, and they took it away and basically rebated back, and it brought a lot of social, it paid for a lot of social things for the public back in the past, and there's been a bill to end the rebate.
We can send you the video, Kshama.
Yeah. I'm
Great.
sure that's something you'd be interested in.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. From what you're describing, we absolutely need to win that back, and we need to win massive taxes on the wealthy, especially in New York City. I mean, everywhere, but especially New York City. I mean, this is the home of Wall Street. There is so much need. I mean, if you look at the budget numbers, I mean, just the basics, running the basic services, I mean, it's brutal. The mathematics is brutal of the budget cuts that are about to happen under a socialist, self-described democratic socialist mayor. I mean, this is absolutely horrendous. And so we're not going to win that kind of taxes on the rich that we need without the type of fighting strategy we used in Seattle. And that is also what we're using for our congressional campaign as well. We're calling for free healthcare for all and a massive expansion of social housing nationally, all of that funded by taxing the rich. And we absolutely want to help you all win new taxes on the rich in New York City.
Yeah, I feel like what they're doing is they're talking about tax the billionaires. The stock transfer tax has been on the books. It's easier to push through, and it brings quite a bit of money. And I think it's an easier avenue. And I feel like sometimes they bring things up. I've seen bills sit and not go anywhere. And when they talk about taxing the billionaires, I feel like it's one of those things they're leading you down the rabbit hole a little bit on, they're giving the optics that they really want to do something. In the actuality, it's such a long-term objective, and it wouldn't be nearly as successful as bringing back the stock transfer tax.
Nilda has a question or comment, and then
Sure.
Alberto after.
Great. Anilda, go ahead.
Yes, how's everyone doing? Oh my goodness, how do you say your name? Kamasha?
You can just say Kshama. Just
Kshama, thank you.
Pretend the K doesn't exist. That's easier.
Got it. Okay, Kshama, you are a force to be reckoned with. I am loving it. But so in terms of this tax credit, right? So I had put my question in the chat. This is my second time. I'm here to support any way that I can. So I was just thinking, in terms getting the message out to the community, what are the strategic ways to get it out there? Because a lot of people do not know about it, and we need to simplify it for the people that like to be on social media all day, every day. And so they're not going to understand tax credit, but it's something maybe like something relatable. So I just wanted to know what we are doing to get the message out there to the community so they can assist too. Because remember, there are a lot of people living in public housing, all these other things that the tax credit thing can benefit. So I just wanted to know what are the strategic ways on how we can get the public, right? Because they they voice us powerful and they can help, right? While the other people on top of doing the work, but then what can the public do? So that was my question.
Did you, well, that's something we're working on, with a group that kind of spun off on the legal committee on public housing. That's something that's been in the air, and that's something we supported. The Midtown South had supported way back 2 years ago, and we do have a video on that. It's really kind of about messaging, and Ray, Alex, what's Ray's last name? Ray
Rogers.
Yeah. Ray Rogers has a lot of talking points pulled together. And I think Kshama, I know you kind of directed that to Kshama, but she's just, I don't think she's been aware of it as much as we have been. And we're just talking about it. We just brought that up here in this meeting. Am I right, Kshama?
Yes, I mean, I wasn't sure if that question was directed to me, but yeah, I can help with that.
Yeah, but that's something. It's really about how we're going to put that message out and how we're going to. It's a real campaign effort for sure. And there's been some campaign efforts around that, something we can work with. And there's a lot of support here in New York City, a lot of health organizations. I mean, there's so much support for this. And so we're talking about reviving that and pushing that forward. And that's something perhaps you might want to get involved with. I'm speaking to you, of course, Kshama, but also Nilda. Nilda, we'd be very happy to have you involved.
Okay, thank you. Because I just want to go piggyback to what Kshama said, that everybody came together as one voice. We got to be saying the same message. So that's what I'm doing. Because it's from what I've been observing. There's so much separation. This one is doing here. This one is doing here. This one over here is doing something else. But I think that when we come together, it's way more powerful. So that's why. I just wanted to reiterate. But thank you.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. Caitlin?
No, Caitlin's not next. It's Alberto, then Caitlin.
Oh, can I just jump in on this point, though?
Is it fast?
Yeah, well, because I just think Nilda's question is really important, and just inspired by Kshama about the stock transfer tax and the Amazon tax. Like, everybody knows Amazon's the big bad guy, but I don't think a lot of people understand the stock transfer tax. And it's just thinking about, like, what might be some kind of messaging, what can we learn from you, Kshama, about, messaging, because, right now, the stock transfer tax basically is a penny on every transfer that would actually generate 14 to 16 billion dollars a year. I think right now the allocation is 5% would go to public housing, but we would like that to be bigger. And we've had speakers on this meeting who have been addressing it. But I think the point that Nilda's making, which is really important, is about getting everyone to want this. An Amazon tax, I think people get. And so I just think, how can we rethink the messaging? And I'd love to hear what you think, Kshama and others. I'm also seeing Yolanda's here from No More 24. I think there's so much that messaging is so powerful and clear. Just really think about that, building, the people power movement around this. Thank you.
No, very good. Thanks, Caitlin. You want to respond, Kshama?
Yeah, I'm really happy to. First of all, just to make sure I heard Caitlin right, will the stock transfer tax, is it going to raise 14 to 16 billion, like billion with a B, dollars every year?
Yes. That's
okay. Okay, that's really, really useful to know, because that is just absolutely something we should be fighting for. There's no doubt. I mean, that is the kind of substantial amount of tax we want. I mean, and that's the thing, like Mamdani and Hokul. I mean, they have agreed. They have made this inside deal for 500 million, but that's nothing. That's not going to even scratch the surface of what we need. I mean, obviously, every dollar that the big business and the billionaires are taxed. We welcome that, but we need something substantial. And so this really does sound substantial. But I think Nilda and Caitlin have raised a really important point, which is of messaging and strategy. That is super crucial. That is a make or break for movements, if whether we're going to win or not win. And I'm really glad you asked this question, because when we were fighting for the Amazon tax, there were many of these NGO leaders, what I call gatekeepers, also many of the DSA leaders. They really hated it that we were calling it the Amazon tax. And they had this whole idea that, oh, well, if you don't anger the billionaires, if you're not in their face, then somehow you can sneak in a tax under the radar. And so let's call it employee hours tax or head tax. I mean, these were describing the technical mechanism by which the money was going to be raised. And we steadfastly disagreed with that, what we thought was a complete fool's errand, which is that, look, just to quote what Caitlin just said, if you call it the Amazon tax, ordinary people, as Nilda said, we need that kind of real unity on the working class basis, solidarity on a working class basis. If you call it the Amazon tax, people will come. And that is exactly what happened. And if we had called it something technical sounding like head tax or employee hours tax, it would not have made it clear to people that this is a tax on the billionaires. It's not a tax on ordinary working people. And that is especially a danger in Washington state, because for the longest time, Washington state has had the most regressive tax system, which is astounding, because this is a blue state. It's a very, very democratic state. It's not a Republican controlled state. And yet the Democratic Party have been the people who have carried water for the billionaire class, as they always do. I mean, they're both parties of billionaires. But the point is that it has been the most regressive tax system. And so if you don't call it clearly that this is a tax on the billionaires, it is very easy for big business and the right wing to carry out an anti-messaging campaign with a total lie, saying that, hey, they're going to come after you, to tell working people they're going to come after you. And it's a very credible message, because working people are overtaxed in Washington state. So we said, if you call it something like that, it is never going to win. If we call it the Amazon tax, working people will come. And that is precisely what happened. But it required us, and this is the question of strategy, it required me and my fellow revolutionary socialists to reject the gatekeepers and say, we're not going to listen to you. We're going to go to ordinary people directly. And the other thing we had to fight, unfortunately, is many of the BLM leaders were actually, they were in coalition with the Democratic Party, and they were organizing against the Amazon tax. And they came up with this really toxic message that the Amazon tax is not a Black issue. And they told me, you're not Black, you can't speak. And we said, look, this is really terrible what you're doing, because the Black community, Black working class and poor community, they are some of the most disproportionately affected by the housing affordability crisis. How can you say this is not a Black issue? This is a working class issue, and everybody, we all need affordable housing, but especially communities that have been marginalized. And we said, we're not going to listen to your gatekeeping. We're going to go to the rank and file of the George Floyd rebellion and ask them, do they want the Amazon tax? So we set up tables everywhere in those protests, and we went with our clipboards and said, here's a petition for the Amazon tax. Do you agree? And people were like, hell yeah, I want the Amazon tax. And it was on that basis that we collected 30,000 signatures in 3 months at the rate of 10,000 signatures a month. And so it really proved, and that put a lot of pressure on the Democrats. They were forced to concede. They hated it, but they were forced to concede. And we, except for one Democrat, every other Democrat were forced to vote yes, because it became a question of their own political careers, their own political reputations, because the Amazon tax was so popular that if they had voted no, they would have paid a real price in terms of people really understanding that the politicians are not on our side. And so that's how we forced their hand, forced the hand of big business, the billionaires, and the Democratic Party to win. And I'm not saying that the messaging was everything, but the messaging was a huge part of it. And in order to win that messaging battle, it required us to stand up to the gatekeepers. And I have no doubt, there's nothing unique about Seattle. I have no doubt that if we actually start building a movement, if you launch a movement for this tax on the wealthy, stock transfer tax in New York City, then I have no doubt that the similar battles will have to take place inside the movement. We will need to fight against the gatekeepers there. I guarantee you there are gatekeepers everywhere, as I'm sure you all know from your own struggles there. And so, yeah, I absolutely think we should not call it the stock transfer. I mean, it is a stock transfer tax, but we should call it a Wall Street tax, something like that. That will make sense to people that, yeah, I want to tax Wall Street, and people will come and join us.
A time check, it's 10:28 according to my clock. Alberto, do you want to talk?
Yes, Alberta?
Yeah, sure. Well, I was thinking a little. I have a question, but I
Go
want
ahead.
to first say, Mamdani was mentioned a few times, and I know that his position with regards to the FEC buildings is, that he wants to continue with the development. I personally know Sia Weaver because I'm a employee at the Met Council on Housing. I mean, I think that this is a really good example of the kind of gatekeeping that Kshama is talking about. I mean, Sia Weaver is somebody that has been a leader of the tenant movement in New York City through her direction of Housing Justice for All, the coalition of tenant organizations, like nonprofits mostly. And I think that this is kind of what separates our working class struggle perspective from the perspective of the progressive Democrats, which is that, the Mamdani administration, Sia Weaver, other leaders in the tenant nonprofits, they're justifying this position in kind of legalistic terms, in terms of like, well, the deal is already done. We can't really sort of, make that sort of block that deal or sort of repeal that deal or something like that. Plus, we do need more housing. I mean, part of Mamdani's platform is 200,000 affordable housing units. Plus, we're going to make absolutely sure that the rights of the tenants are going to be respected. We're going to do our best to do that, etc. And the difference, I think, between that and our own perspective is the least that Mamdani could do, the Mamdani administration, regardless of whether the deal can be repealed or not. I mean, in order to do that, like, repealing the deal is going to take a struggle, it's going to take a fight. And the least that he could do is fight with you against the deal, fight with you against the demolitions,
Alberto, I'm sorry to intrude here, but Alberto, the problem is the deal isn't done, and that's their narrative, and that's their narrative, and that's their propaganda. So we're pushing back on, and the court battles have made that clear. They're not going to be able to make the deal until it's either won or lost in the courts. But you're right. I think what you're getting at is the messaging again, right? And
yeah.
how.
Sorry. I mean, what I want to bring out here is there's a problem in general with Democratic Party politicians, even those that present themselves as progressive.
Right.
It's not just a matter of what you quote unquote believe. It's a matter of what you're willing to do and how you're willing to fight, and what is your understanding of what the fight consists in. What the forces at play are, and the fact that we're fighting against
Machine.
against the capitalist class, against the rich, against people that are extremely powerful based on their wealth, and our power is based on our numbers as a class and our disposition to fight as a class. And this is kind of the separation between like progressive Democrats and an independent revolutionary socialist office. The idea that our calculation of what we support and how we fight is what is let's say everything that is beneficial for the working class is going to be fought against by the ruling class, and we have to be very clear about that and have a strategy that recognizes that. Anyway,
Yeah.
I just want to say that real quick, but I have a question. You said, John, earlier that you guys had gone to City Hall already. I'm wondering, did you guys, you said that you guys had like press conferences and stuff like that. Did you guys participate in a public comment
Yes.
inside City Hall? And how did that go? Did
A
you,
few
how,
times.
okay. Could
Uh,
you, I'm curious how that went.
Well, we came out in force. There's been public hearings. Chris Banks is one of the better folks that are in government. He heads the public housing hearing. He holds him quite often. He's a very good proponent of public housing. He's spoken out very strongly. He's put out statements, and he's grilled the NYCHA folks really hard. He knows what questions to ask. He digs in. He's an impressive guy. And Chris Marte is also on our side. We have very few friends, of course, in our district here. Actually, none. If you look at it, you got the council, you got the state senator, you got the Republican the representative. We have the assembly, Simone. We have the borough president. We have no help here, and this is where we started from, and this is where we are now, and but we do have support from other council folks and other folks that are outside of our general area of Chelsea. And so there's public housing, of course, around the city, and we're connecting with those folks to strengthen our coalition. We're connecting with them all the time, as much as we can, and we need to, of course, always do better. But yeah, we come out to those hearings, and they've been quite a few. Renee's spoken very eloquently at those hearings. We've had a lot of other folks from the coalition, from public housing. It spoke really well. Marquise Jenkins is a great speaker for against the privatization, and yeah, it's a long battle. And we need to keep going, but we're running out of time here, and I need to get to my next agenda. Is there anybody else have any final questions or anything else?
I see Luana on stock.
Okay, Luana, where are you? Luana?
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute. Thanks. I'm in the field. I want to thank you. Thank you, Alberto. I met you at the protest rally on 16th Street, 17th Street when we were doing that. So I thank you for coming and bringing Kshama. I'm so impressed with you, Kshama. I'm so impressed with the work you guys have done in Seattle. And the narrative is the same here. I mean, everything you've said is the same actions that are being taken place over here in New York City. It's really crazy how our Democratic Party has sold out to big developers and lobbyists, and that's how they get these candidates in office to continue this destruction to our city. But I went to a meeting with Sia Weaver at the Furman Center about 2 weeks ago. She was one of the panelists, and there was some architecture. And what they showed on the map, I mean, these guys are so bold in their initiatives. What they showed on the map was all of NYCHA properties being offered up to developers for redevelopment and displacement of residents. And almost all of NYCHA is mostly communities of color, right? So there's this racist, classist attitude that's going on, that the people are dispensable. And I'm so proud of Renee and all the work that she's doing. But one of the things you said is that we have to reach out to the other other complexes, because, mobilization and, what do you call it? Um, Teaching, making things plain English to people and telling them and showing them in actuality what is really happening to our city and what's going to happen to the residents that live in these complexes. The displacement is going to be massive. The homelessness, the mental illness, the drug abuse, the alcoholism, the kids affected, the school. I mean, it's going to affect every part of humanity. And so I thank you so much for the work you're doing, because it sounds so positive that, the active work that you guys are doing. So what I wanted to ask you was, in your preparation of gathering mass to fight these forces, how do you coalesce with other groups to make that massive protest and make your situation more media friendly? Because right now the media doesn't even care. They have a narrative. They're supported by these people, so they have one narrative, and that's for the developers. The other thing I wanted to say was, you said something, but it left my mind. But anyway, I don't want to go on too long. But yeah. So how do you garner the support of others in the community to make that massive, outpouring of support and make these people ashamed? And that's what I wanted to say. We have gone to many city hall rallies, right? And we have brought out the facts about the demolition, the blah, 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 but we have never shamed them. Like, we have never said, shame on you, and I really like that part, because we have been so nice and so, passive in our attitude towards these people and what they're doing. And I'm a person that can yell loud, so I like that part. So thank you.
Sorry, John, is there a moment for me to just quickly speak on that? Because I know you're
Sure.
going to move to
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
next
Please
agenda
comment.
topic, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to leave. Yeah, first of all, because I have to leave, I thank you all so very much. This is it's incredibly important that we are connecting like this from across two coasts, because this is a united struggle, and it has to be a united fight back. And we don't want any intellectual property on the strategy and tactics we use here. We didn't invent those ideas. Those are ideas that have existed in militant class struggle, and we just put them into action. And we want to provide any support whatsoever that we are able to for you all, because if you can win, we win. And so, yeah, just on that note, and to respond to what Luana was saying, yeah, I first of all, it's really, really fantastic to hear that you all have already carried out these sort of city hall speak out actions. But yeah, what we're talking about is exactly what Luana was saying, is that yes, we should bring the facts, we should bring all the eloquent speakers, people who are on our side. As John was saying, we need all of that. I think the other component that we need, which really helps to tip the scales towards our side, because we have no power as working class people, tenants, as the social movement. We have no power. Wall Street, the Democrats, Republicans, they have all the power. So our job is to organize and strategize in such a way that we are able to change that balance of power, at least for the time being, towards us. And one of the ways we do it is through the vocabulary we use. And so absolutely, naming and shaming is very crucial. So there's a world of a difference between where people go to public comment and say, council members, these are the facts, and I urge you to do the right thing. That's not how we speak. That's why we call it a city hall speak out. Because when we go, we say, how dare you try to carry out this attack on the last remaining public housing, and shame on you for calling this for trying to sell this sell this snake oil down our throats, that somehow all of a sudden these real estate developers and all these construction guys and all these billionaires, multimillionaires, that they're somehow about to do a good deed to working class tenants. This is a complete lie. This is a destruction of public housing. Shame on Mamdani and the city council Democrats for allowing this to go forward, and we are determined to stop it. And if you go ahead with this, it is very clear that you are not on our side. No matter what you say, you may call yourself progressive, you may call yourself democratic socialist, but you are not on the side of working class and poor people. And then so that's one thing, one way in which we make it more effective with the language we use. And it also, it's not only about, it's not that it's not about shaming individuals, it's about making it clear what the system, as John was saying, it's a system, what the machine is doing to working class people. But the other objective of using this language is that it excites working class people. Then they want to get involved because they feel like, okay, people feel beaten down by movements that haven't succeeded. And so people get, people check out. They're like, I don't care because nothing works. I don't even want to be involved. But if they see something working, they will come. If they see something that really ignites their anger that they already feel against the ruling class and their politicians, then it will come. So one of the main reasons we speak that way in the City Hall Speak Out is not that we're speaking to the city council members. We know they don't give a shit about us. Sorry for my language. But what we're speaking is to the people we're speaking to are ordinary people who might be listening. And they're not all going to be listening, but some of them will. And then we will be able to grow our movement on that basis. And then the other thing we do is that we always organize rallies and actions in sort of follow-up actions after we do something. So when we go to a city hall speak out, we don't just end there. We say, here's a rally that's happening. So in other words, if we can organize a rally that not a tenants meeting, we call it a rally. Calling it a rally is important because rallies, it sounds like a protest action, which is precisely what we want to do. And there we can do two things. One is one of the things we did to help us win renters' rights. And by the way, the defeating of Stepping Forward was not the only renters' rights we won. We won unprecedented renters' rights to the degree that the corporate landlord lobbyists were forced to admit publicly that while I was in City Hall for 10 years, they were simply not able to win. We did not allow corporate landlords to win. We instead won many working class rights like the $10 late rent fee cap, which was a huge lifeline for a lot of the renters, but many others, which I don't have time to talk about right now. But the point is that one of the ways in which we won is we also carried out canvassing of tenants. And I'm not saying that you have not, I'm sure you've done all of this, but I was just going to say that we are happy to help you canvass all the tenants. And so let's say just to give you an example quickly, if we say we are organizing a rally at the, in mid-May, something like that, then we can both have a table outside the FEC buildings and then outside other grocery stores where working class people shop, all of that, and then give them leaflets saying, hey, come to this rally. And then we can also door knock the tenants at FEC and saying, hey, you want to save your housing, don't you? Then you need to join this struggle, come out to this rally. And then that way we can, that can be a focal point. That rally can become a focal point for people to come out and fight. And then coming out of that rally, we can organize a city hall speak out and say, hey, we have a target of mobilizing 30 tenants to this city hall speak out at this committee. Who's signing up to come and speak with us? And then we'll do a training on how to speak. We'll give you a talking point sheet, all of that.
That's very good. That's a great ending point. That's great. We certainly need the manpower and need the support wherever stock transfer tax, public housing, any kind of all these issues that. And I from what I understand, you're working on a national campaign, so it's good to find those intersectional points, and that's what you would want to do. And I think both of these points would be right up, right on that purpose, right? Cool. I think we have to move along. Yolanda's been very patiently waiting, and we're of course running overtime. But you've given us such a talking points and discussion, and we really appreciate having you here. And it seems like there's so much more to talk about, about the governance and about. I know you're running for a congressional seat, and we wish you all the luck, and we appreciate people like you in office. I know once you go in, though, you got so many people to struggle against, and my God, to have that kind of spirit. I appreciate you. With that, we'll hope to have you back again, maybe, and see how we might be able to progress on some of these issues. Thank you again, Yolanda. Our next guest is Yolanda. Here we go. There.
Hi. Hi, thank you everyone for paying attention. I'm sure you know about the ending 24-hour workdays fight, and how many of you, Renee, John, and Kaylin, actually last week on May Day have come out to support a home care workers led rally to call on Mayor Mamdani to keep his promise. He promised to end 24-hour workdays. And now he actually wants 24-hour workdays in our own backyard, just like he wants, right? Like, yes, to development in our own backyard, demolish public housing. I personally work with many home care women workers who now are disabled, themselves become patients. I'm sure that people are familiar with this practice, this racist violence that exists only in New York City, not in Seattle. I feel very ashamed being a New Yorker in this case, because all the home care workers know that just hours from the May Day rally that we were all there to attend, to call on Mamdani to come out and really just even visit the workers' hunger strike, just even gives a bottle of water, even just come out and, say that, look, we're in the process of ending 24-hour workdays within our government Medicaid system. It's like government set up system of 24-hour workdays, only entrapping women of color working such long hours, taking care of very severely ill patients in their private homes, the very much needed care, right? In upstate New York, where it's under the same system, it doesn't exist there because it's a racist, sexist violence. Because New York City, where the population is most, the workforce is most dominantly, like me, woman of color, the insurance companies are taking, and the government is taking more advantage of us. And so just hours away from the May Day rally that many of y'all were there to attend, that we're calling on Mamdani do the right thing, Mamdani shows up, not a coincidence, calling for 8-hour workday, in the quote unquote May Day spirit in Washington Square Park. So many home care workers, we were talking about it just yesterday, they are very, very mad at Mamdani, right? He had to talk about 8-hour workday to cover up a much uglier American nightmare, 24-hour workdays in our own backyard in New York City. And so there were many, even doctors, and teachers from the UFT Retiree Caucus calling out Mamdani's speech right there. Many home care workers also went to the May Day rally that Mamdani was talking about, 8-hour workday that excludes women of color, immigrant women of color, right? So it's this system that they're up against, and many workers are very, very mad at our current socialist mayor. And partly today, it would be great if we can also think about how to put pressure on our socialist speaker, because he promised this. He came to a home care workers rally in December 2024 to say that, if you vote for me, I will end 24-hour workdays. And many home care workers mobilized 5, 6, 7 of their own family members to vote for him. And now Mamdani is working even like more of a more hardworking spokesperson than anybody in the city council to keep this system in place. So I work with many survivors of 24-hour workdays. Sometimes they do not survive, right? Last month, I called some workers whose daughters picked up the phone, right, and said that their mom already passed away. The nature of 24-hour workday is such that you have to not leave your patient alone because the patient needs qualifies for 24-hour care, right? So our government works with insurance companies to deny that 24-hour care. Otherwise, everywhere else, it's split shifts. 12-hour constitutes 24-hour care. In New York City, it's one person, one aide, one worker doing entire 24-hour care for days on end. So that's a 120-hour workday for years. 16 years, 10 years, 12 years, many women workers spoke out. So this bill has been delayed for 4 years. And now that we have our quote unquote socialist mayor, he's working harder. Even as of last week, he still comes out to undermine this bill, to say that we all know that women of color workers choose to work long hours because that's how they make ends meet. So during the 5-week sitting hunger strike, he actually sent someone from his office to come out and say that. And so many younger generation who talk to home care workers, who just like Midtown South Community Center, who came to the hunger strike, very late at night to talk to the home care workers and support. Many of the supporters do say that are shocked that this is a new type of what many call Zoronomics, where you leave the super exploitation of 24-hour workdays untouched, intact, maintained, go on, while taxing the rich for 2%. Pennies on the dollars might not even happen. Framing what is a life and death issue of women of color in New York City as quote unquote, there's not enough money in the system, private insurance companies that's in this highly privatized Medicaid system cannot afford to lose profit margin. So women of color have to die. So actually, the insurance companies in the system has been getting very nervous, hiding behind Mamdani. And for example, paying off spokesperson from legal aid, which is similar. We see a parallel here with the demolition of NYCHA in Chelsea. And, to say that this crime against humanity, it's not a city issue, it's a state issue. But meanwhile, we see the United Nations already sent a letter of condemnation to the US government to say that this is crime against humanity. It needs to stop. And so I really want to ask the question of why here in New York City, when there is a socialist mayor, not anywhere else, it doesn't exist in Seattle, doesn't exist upstate New York. It's it's not privately arranged. You live in my house, so you can take care of a severely ill patient, my relative and such. It's a whole government sanctioned system that it's predatory, it's violent, that targets women of color. So we're talking about this life and death issue, and we really need people's help here to really call mayor's office. Again, as of last week, he's still trying to undermine this bill. And it's yesterday we have folks speaking at community board in Uptown in Harlem, trying to push for resolution. So, we really want any type of really coming together as community citywide. Do folks have connections to community board and other organizations citywide? We have a lot of people starting to sign on letter out of anger that actually even when the speaker commits to pass this bill, our socialist mayor comes out to say that women choose to work 24-hour workdays. So actually, it's on many news coverage because many of us did 7 days and 7 nights of hunger strike. A lot of journalists are wondering why. And many of the Zohran Mamdani's office still try to say that we need to give women workers the option to work 24-hour workdays. And so it's also just disheartening to see that the most powerful figure in city council right now, he has not, Mamdani has not publicly supported. We actually spotted him twice in the City Hall Park. When the women workers were doing the hunger strike, we can see him there. And, many volunteers were chanting, stop the 24-hour workdays, right? Come out, find out what's happening. And then he immediately left, ran away. It already happened twice. And so it's all documented on Instagram, social media. So, and actually the only response regarding the hunger strike that he has to us is to take down the tarp that protects the women workers who are doing the hunger strike. So, in the cold.
I saw I saw that
Yeah.
social media, and that kind of went broadly over the social media. I find it fascinating, very fascinating that he would make that statement, but he has, and he actually ran on No More 24 when he was trying to get elected, correct?
Yes, yes. And and again, he tries to belittle all our working women, saying that you just want some money, you just want some pay, right? Here's 24-hour workdays. You can earn more. But we say that this is the modern day slavery. Our bodies are broken. All the home care workers say, even if you give me $1 million, I'm not going to sacrifice my own body. They're all disabled now, right? My motherhood. They don't see their kids and their families for days, on end and for years. And so we're not, we're not slaves to be treated like this.
Yeah. And am I correct? Also, I let everybody know about this. They work 24, but they only get paid for 13.
That's right. That's right. And so currently Mamdani is also trying to push, oh, we'll just give you a little more. But again, you cannot buy our lives and our health and our, we're not like for sale. Our body's not for sale.
Yeah.
And so currently also, many workers want, justice so that like, companies doing this, insurance company, home care agencies, the government doing this is rightly penalized for committing this crime against humanity on us, right? That is why people symbolically want their stolen wages back. But most of the hunger strikers going on hunger strike, who you all talk to, currently they're all injured, disabled, so they cannot work. So actually ending the 24-hour workdays from now on, they are fighting for their next generation not to go through the same inhumane practice again. So it's really calling out everyone to come out and protect, our health. And so it's in the same spirit as, for many workers, for, working people all around the industries where we work long hours and, we're entrapped in the system. So it's sparking a wider fight. Go ahead.
We do have someone has a hand up, and she's actually was part of a letter, But before I get to that, Miriam, before I get right to you, I think it's really a planning process of just like what we're doing with public housing, that we need to really strategize and figure out how do we right now, so far, you haven't mentioned this, but right now, so far, you've got this bill going up for a vote, right?
Hello. Oh, is it a question to Marianne
Yeah,
or?
yeah. You have the vote is going up, right? You have a vote going up in front of the city council, correct? On the number, and you're expecting a
So yes,
positive.
yes, we're as Caitlin mentioned in the chat, we're going back to the City Hall May 15th to pass No More 24 Act. And currently, the mayor's not publicly supported, and that serves as a huge barrier and concern for for any potential delays and disruption to this passage. Everyone else, the second person in command in the city hall actually now publicly supports, right? And really when you talk to her, she commits at the end, the pause the hunger strike, she commits to yes, the putting the to a vote the No More 24 Act.
Yeah, you have a veto proof. Is it veto proof? Yeah.
No, actually, it's not veto proof. So that's why Mamdani had to come out and not hide behind, right, for the insurance company's profit. And so all we really need help, for the sake of our, all of our health and our future generations' health, to call Mamdani's office. Actually, he doesn't have a phone number. So we had to tag him on social media. And there's a contact the mayor kind of a website form that's on the flyer. Let me send the May
Yeah, put that in the
15
chat.
flyer.
Yeah, put that in the chat,
Yes.
and then. But I'll get to Miriam's question for you. Miriam, go ahead. You have a question for Yolanda, or something to add?
I'm a disability activist from Elevator Action Group with elevators in the subway, Rise and Resist. And I'm familiar also with the concerns of the disability groups that they, and I sent to John earlier a letter from Brooklyn Center for the Disabled concern about how this is they are not able to switch back and forth between insurance to us, two shifts, and they're very afraid of losing the help that they need to stay independent and live in their homes with the appropriate support. And they're very concerned about the way the bill is written is going to undermine their needs and how to work this out with insurance. The letter from BCID is signed by many other disability groups that also say that they haven't been able to speak publicly. And today there's a city hall meeting, and several of them are going to come and testify. And this is the concern, that they are very supportive and aware of the concerns, the wage theft and all of those things, but how to assure that they will get the kind of help that they need to stay independent within the law, and or can that be rewritten and modified to address that they're having trouble with the insurance companies approving split shifts and those kinds of things. And it's a real concern because often people with disabilities don't have a voice, aren't heard. And just not to go off on a tangent, but I've been at the meetings where a lot of the candidates were asking for, endorsements by the political group CRMD, and I had the same question for all of them. None of them had on their platforms disability. None of them, all of these progressives, and I embarrassed them. And they all put it on their websites. The only one who actually put it on her flyer, disability and accessibility, was Layla. But I'm also the first step is website, but also on their flyers. And when they're speaking, just like now, we expect everyone we're in Chelsea, we're in the Village, to say LGBTQ. It takes 2 seconds to raise awareness as this is a need. Nobody has said that when they're speaking. It's a two seconds to add to their all their list of issues that they're addressing. So what I'm asking about is how to address the needs that people feel safe and are getting the services they need and having the insurance okay it, which has apparently been a problem.
Yeah, thank you for that, Miriam. I'm going to have to.
You want us to reply it?
Yes.
You know, like, it's shameful. The woman just spoke. You know, if you try to make other people become disabled by make them work 24 hours, is that help the disabled people?
No,
it's really shameful. You target the worker who work 24 hours instead. Try to unite with the worker who suffer so much to fight the insurance company.
Fight up.
No, they're not trying to do that.
But what you're doing is a shameful.
That is not
24
what they're
hours.
doing. They're trying to have the insurance approved the change to split shifts.
Pass the bill.
Many already split shifts. Many already
Many have been denied, and that's what they want.
No,
we need to come together and fight. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Instead of make the home care worker become disabled.
Yeah.
That's shameful.
They're dying right now. Everyone.
24 hours. No country in the world, no city in the world have a 24-hour workday. We're not talking about, just wages.
We're talking about getting approval for having 2 shifts.
Then
this is what they're having trouble with. Not
hold on.
You're changing what I'm saying.
Miriam, Wing. I think what Wing is pointing out is no more. They don't want that amount of hours. No, it's not. There's no value in that amount of hours. And I think it's already when you do a split shift. I think on one hand, when you do a split, correct me if I'm wrong. When you do a split shift, that's not the point. The point is you can hire more people to do those hours rather than burden one person with those hours.
Right, because this is something not a money. It's the people.
No.
24 hours. That's why it's a labor movement have something wrong. They only talk about money.
Right.
This is not about money. 24 hours. Give me a city. Give me a country. Have a 24 hour.
Yeah.
China
exactly.
don't have that.
Yeah. I think there's, Miriam, I think there's definitely a discussion that could be had here, maybe offline or something, that we can kind of get the support from what you're doing for what they're doing. I think can be an understanding here. I know I know what you're about, Miriam, and I know what these folks are about, and I'm sure we can gain your support and come to a meeting of the minds here. But with that, I've got Jack Lester here with us, and I've got to move on to the other agenda. And please, Wing, I didn't even know you were here, but you weren't here by yourself. You were here with Yolanda. But please, let's talk further. Maybe let's strategize. And Tom Gogan had a question. Tom, do you still have something really quick?
Well, just very quickly, it seems to me that the old expression, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's up to us, we the people, to put the pressure on the powers that be, insurance companies, the politicians and whatnot, to find the way. That the first thing that has to be done is to establish the problem, and the solution is clearly to end no more 24 to split the shifts, and and then it's up to them to find the money.
Yeah.
It's actually, that's how everything works in this world.
Yeah.
It starts with the movement from below.
Yeah. And foremost, we have to find a system that keeps it in place. I think everybody forgets that. We win these battles and they come back and they change it again and so forth. We have to really kind of think in the future. And I agree with you, Tom. Thanks for that input. And I believe you've been on our meetings before, and I haven't seen you in a while, and I appreciate you coming back. Tom, remind me where you're from, what coalition?
Yeah, I had most of my work in the last few years has been with the Move the Money campaign, which refers to our tax dollars that go for endless wars.
Right.
Trump is now trying to double the budget from what it was 6 years ago to $1.5 trillion for weapons, for more war. And meanwhile, people back not only in other countries that are being bombed, but people at home are suffering too. And frankly, what the home care workers are going through, what the disabled people are fighting for, and all what the rest of us are fighting for, whether it's in education, transportation, mental health. We need more resources to be redirected from the federal government, which is spending most of our tax dollars that they when they craft their budget every year, about 6 out of 10 of those tax dollars are now going to the Pentagon for these wars and for militarism, which is, it's a travesty, and it's wrong, and it's really just an outrageous misuse of our money.
Wonderful point, Tom. So I'm at this point. Thank you, Yolanda, for that presentation, and thank you for your discussion. And let's move on to Jack Lester. Jack Lester, if you do not know, is an attorney, a very respected attorney. He's been suing against the proposal on City of Yes and the Midtown Mixed Use proposals. What they deem as I think everybody understands the whole build rhetoric that they put out there, and they're not solving the problems that we have about housing. So, and what they want to do is unleash every little space without the infrastructure to build, and that puts profits into the developer's pocket. It doesn't solve the problem. And Jack Lester here is in the fight, and he's been in the fight. And Jack, we appreciate you. And if you'll take the floor and let us know how you're doing about the Midtown mixed use proposal, that'd be great.
Thank you, John, and for all the wonderful work that you do. I know you put in an enormous amount of time, effort, energy in your tireless efforts on behalf of the community. And I hope people appreciate that. A show of hands, how many people appreciate that? Because I know you get a lot of pressure and criticism, but you deserve our support.
It's my team. It's my team behind me, and that allows me to move forward. That's right. Luana and Len and Caitlin, and all my other folks, and you. I mean, Jack, you've taken this on, and you've done a lot of work, and I'm for not the and not just for money. So we appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Now, turning to the Midtown South rezoning, if you're familiar with the proposal, the city performed what's known as an environmental impact statement. And in the impact statement, they identified two very significant factors. One is that the increase in density in the Midtown South area will violate the Clean Air Act. They put that right in to the environmental report. They disclosed that fact, but they failed to do any mitigation. They failed to address that impact in a way that would satisfy the requirements under the Federal Clean Air Act. They also identified a location in Midtown South where the increased density and the air quality as a result of the companion industrial and commercial uses would increase the risk of cancer. They put that again, it was right in the environmental impact statement. And they claim that that risk cannot be mitigated. So our lawsuit is predicated on the fact that this would violate not only the State Environmental Quality Review Act, but it would violate your constitutional rights under the State Green Amendment. So our lawsuit is pending. The city answered by acknowledging that there would be a risk of cancer, but that the risk was minimal. And because they cannot identify the population that has yet to be introduced into the community, therefore they have no obligation to mitigate. And we say this is a clear-cut violation of your constitutional rights under the Green Amendment. And this case will be heard sometime in June or July in front of Judge Leibowitz. And we invite everybody, of course, to attend that hearing. Now that's a brief summary, an overview. We could send you the link to the lawsuit so that you can read all of the underlying documents. And I'm happy to take questions. People have questions.
So who has questions? I want to see some hands.
Again, that's a summary. I gave you a summary overview. There are a lot of details, complexities, statistics, but rather than bore you with that, we'll send you the link and you can read all the details yourself and certainly call with any questions.
Yeah, we're also attacking the public housing issue on an environmental thing too.
Right.
I think we spoke about that, Joe Cooperman. I think you know, actually, right?
Yeah.
You guys been in touch?
Not recently, but I've worked with Joel certainly in the past.
Okay, cool. I'll make sure I'll get your documents to you too.
Sure. Now, of course, you raised another component that while they're increasing density and increasing housing, it's basically, luxury housing and not housing for the public or, housing for the people who can't afford it. It doesn't really address the affordability crisis, but that's a public policy issue. It's not so much an issue under the statutory framework of SECRA or the Green Amendment. We isolated those aspects of the environmental impact statement, which we feel clearly violate the public's right to clean air and also a safe environment free of carcinogenics.
Yeah. Great point. Damu has a question for you. Damu?
Yes, I'm sorry I've been away for a few months. Now that I'm back.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much. So Jack is talking about the lawsuit about the air quality, but then I also know and also heard from other people is that the issue is also insufficient infrastructure. And where the new housing is called out, infrastructure includes parks, schools, hospitals, medical institutions, any kind of thing that we need for quality of life that is not included in the IES. It's like, okay, then somebody will do at some point. So you're very right. It's all about housing and increase FAR. That's what is down there. And the traffic is also an issue. Well, I and some people along with me, we've been studying the quality of transportation along Broadway. We've been talking about car-free Broadway from Union Square to Columbus Circle, which happens in the same zone in the area of the Midtown South. And that is also an issue that should be pointed out, that should be also included in it, but that'll certainly help with the air quality. If you take out the cars, which are really running very inefficiently in this corridor, if you remove those cars and then let the people use the space as a continuous long urban space for walking, it becomes the air space, it becomes a park space, and park space is needed very much in this area. So that's a very easy solution. Remove the inefficient cars from Broadway. And if you do that, that can help a little bit. So I'm glad that, Jack, you're bringing it up for lawsuit, and would like to know more about it, because we can then fold into it, increase the public space, increase the open space. Of course, the housing is another issue. As you said, it's done mostly for upper end housing, is not for public housing in that area. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. He raised some good points. The EIS identifies many deficiencies in the infrastructure. It also identifies lack of open space, lack of park space, lack of recreational space, lack of community facilities, and we point that out in the lawsuit. However, I wanted to highlight the most drastic departures from the legal requirements, which is to have some mitigation on impacts that are cancer causing. I mean, it was shocking to me that the EIS acknowledged that there will be several locations in the rezoning where the density increase will be so intense and the proximity to industrial and commercial foul air will be so close that actually it will increase the risk of cancer. I mean, this is an obvious and overt violation of the law. It's inexcusable, and it really highlights the problem with this kind of rezoning, which casts aside environmental considerations in order to increase density for luxury housing. So I wanted to kind of really focus that issue.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Luana just noted in the chat too that this is the same thing about in regards to public housing. They about the proposal, the EIS. They don't really go into details, and they don't. Yeah, they kind of gloss over the details that you're trying to bring out.
Right.
Anybody else with questions? I know there's some chat. I'm not keeping a strong eye on the chat. So if you, Caitlin, Luana, if you see something, please shout out. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think it would be helpful if they have the link, people can review the documents. And if there are follow-up questions, I'm happy to address it. The filings were voluminous, but I tried to, for the purposes of this meeting, really focus on what I felt was the most egregious,
right,
and the most drastic departure from basic environmental consideration.
Yeah, I think we should definitely be planning a press conference, around the hearing. This is where's it going to be at? You expected to be
It's
at?
going to be in State Supreme Court, excuse me, 60 Center Street.
Yeah.
And in front of Judge Leibowitz, who's a very, very respected, knowledgeable, and probably one of the most erudite judges in the county. So I'm not saying he's necessarily going to rule for us, but I was very comfortable and optimistic with that selection of judges, because he'll definitely give us a fair hearing, and he'll definitely write a thoughtful, thorough decision. So it's not often that you get, there's a wide variety of judges, as you know, in the New York County Supreme Court. And very often it's the luck of the draw who you get, whether you get a fair hearing or not. So I was pleased with that selection.
Jack, there's this thing about 9/10 of the law is ownership, and also this is already in process, and everybody's also saying this is a done deal, and you got your developers already sending out these notice. Real estate agents are really pushing this thing. What do you think, even taking in the fact that this guy's really fair and he's really intelligent, and the ruling, how do you roll that back?
Well, you have to look at the process. So anytime you challenge a project based or rezoning or any kind of proposal, you have to challenge it after the proposal has reached its final determination. That's the law. You can't challenge the project before it has final administrative or municipal or legislative approval. So we have to wait till the process is over. Then we file a lawsuit. And just by the nature of the court process, it could take 2 or 3 years even for a lawsuit to be resolved. And I think the courts recognize that if you were to bar every kind of legal challenge because the program or the rezoning is ongoing, then you would really, in effect, shut the courthouse doors to the public. Now, sometimes in the case you have where there's a proposed demolition, for example, and proposed eviction of tenants, there you need to act even before there's a final determination, because you have to preserve the status quo. You have to keep people in their homes, and you have to prevent the demolition from going forward. Because once there's an eviction and a demolition, it's too late to challenge. Here, because it's a rezoning, rezonings are always challenged, even years after they take effect. And there are many cases where the courts have overturned the rezoning or compelled mitigation, compelled alternatives, modified the rezoning. So, even though time works against us, we had no alternative but to proceed in accordance with the calendar that the law places on us.
Yeah, that's interesting because, with our public housing lawsuit, it was okay whether the case is ripe, and that was the early on. Early on, this was the problem, and people were, I think, we waited a little, almost too long. I think we got in there when it at the right time. Maybe it could have been earlier, but they did send out a 90, 60, and 30-day notice, and the judge even said, okay, why'd you wait so long, and made that a point of ruling, possibly ruling against us. Luana has her hand. She can probably even elaborate on this. Luana?
No, I didn't want to.
Before we get to the question, I'd be interested in looking at those decisions and, filings. If you could send me the link to that case, because I would like to get up to speed with what happened there, because I'm somewhat confused in my own mind as to exactly what happened. I know you sent me some materials, but if you could send me the index number and the link, and you may have done that already, but if you can do it again, when I have some time, hopefully tomorrow, I'll take a look at that.
Sure, I will. Luana, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Jack. I wonder if your lawsuit will it be preventing them from taking any action, or has there been any action taken to displace closed businesses or whatever?
Well, I'm not familiar at this moment that any business actually been displaced or anyone has been forced into some kind of conduct which would cause what we call irreparable harm. But if that has occurred, certainly whoever is impacted by that should contact my office so that we could apply for an injunction. But as I say, at this moment, no one has reached out to me to indicate that they're suffering any kind of irrevocable harm or what they call irreparable harm. But that would be something we could address if I have the proper plaintiff.
And what, forgive me for not being fully informed. What area specifically, street-wise, avenue-wise, does this cover?
I believe, and John, I don't have the exact boundaries in front of me, but I believe it's from 23rd to 40th, from 7th Avenue to 10th Avenue. But I could get you the exact jurisdictional parameters. I don't have it in front of me at the moment. But I believe that's the boundaries, 23rd to 40th and 7th Avenue to 10th, or 6th to 10th.
It's funny that that also includes the FEC area.
Yes, I think if it doesn't
Elliott
include
Chelsea
it,
area.
it's right on the border of it if it doesn't, but it may in fact include it. I will check.
It's west. You're pretty much
Thank
there.
you, Alex.
It's west 40th Street to the north, 23rd Street and 5th Avenue to the east.
Right.
Yeah, 5th Avenue.
I was too far west. Right. It's 5th.
Yeah.
Right.
Damu has a question. Damu has a question.
Go ahead.
I don't have another question. I think I took my hand down.
Oh, okay. Because I see something you typed into the chat about how to access.
Yes, yes, that one. Yes, I'd like to. I was asking, how can I see the lawsuit that Jack spoke about?
I can send you a
link. Is there a
link.
brief to that or something? Oh, you can? Okay.
Yeah. And also, I think I put the link into, if I'm not mistaken, I put the link into the agenda. Maybe I didn't. No, I'm sorry I didn't. But I will, yeah, I'll get that out to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we're way over time. And if there's some burning questions, please
Yeah, you
let
could
me know.
always follow up. I'm happy to respond to any questions that come up. As I say, the filings are voluminous, the issues are complex, but I tried to condense it as much as possible, and hopefully people can come as soon as we get the court date. Hopefully people could come to court, because that will really, give everyone a good picture of all the issues, because the argument and the hearing will probably take a few hours, but everyone will have a clear picture at that point.
Yeah, how much of a warning will you have?
We'll have at least 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay, that'd be great, because sometimes it takes a little planning, and we got, we're overflowing them.
Getting people to the court is very important, because it impresses on the judge that this is of community concern, and sometimes the court then gives more attention to the issue than they would if no one shows up.
Right,
so
right.
We hope to have a full courtroom.
Okay, and you're talking about from late June or July is what you're saying?
Yeah, I estimate, but that's just my guess at this point. The court sets it up at their discretion, but it should be coming around soon.
Okay, great.
And Luana and anybody, you can click on the map image in the chat, and it'll show you the 4 quadrants of Midtown South Mixed Use.
Yes.
Okay, great. And then Friday, leave open Friday. I'll bring you into the coalition, the Public Housing Coalition, to state your legal theory and strategy.
Sure.
And I briefed them on it. We talked a little bit more about it in the legal committee. Anyway, we'll see what transpires from that. So we'll do that Friday. I think instead of having you come to a legal meeting and then come to the coalition meeting, cut to a chase, and you can present
the fewer meetings, the better. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you. It's good seeing everyone.
Yeah.
And as I say, the filings are available, so you get all the details. Thank
Thanks.
you, and have a good rest of the day.
You too. Thanks so much, Jack.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. With that, we're going to close this meeting. Thanks for everybody that joined and also stuck with us to the very end. We'll see you next Tuesday, the first Tuesday of next month, and we'll have some more guests and some more good discussions. Thanks, Rochelle. Didn't hear much from you today.
No, I'm sorry. I at least on the chat, I did let people know that the city is trying to shut down the main chance drop-in center for
Again?
Yes, once again, and once again, the board chair, who's a lawyer, is going to take it to court because the reasons are very inappropriate and inadequate, and the city has given us almost no time to respond to the complaints they're making, which they have 2 years to make to us, but. At any rate, it's a very good program that helps the people who are living unhoused and on the street, and it provides a real resource for them. Anyway.
Well, Rochelle, we were involved with the last fight over that, and I know them very well, and I think you're absolutely right. It's a wonderful program, and you can walk over there and see where that building is and understand why they want to shut it down. It's some things are so obvious. It's like it's Lexington, it's prime real estate, and that's what it's all about. And they do have such a wonderful program. I'd love to see the complaints. If you have them, please forward them, and then I can reach out to Sue Rana, and she's usually comes to this. She usually comes to this meeting quite often. I'm surprised I didn't hear anything from her. But you're saying this is
she couldn't get in today. She was having some difficulties, but yeah, she has tried to reach you, she said, but anyway.
Oh, so so you're very close with her, it sounds like. Are you on one of the committees?
Yes, I'm on their board now.
Oh, right.
But that's pretty recent. But yeah.
Okay. You always have a place here. If you want to talk about, updates or whatever, or if you want a full agenda item, please let me know. I think you're very important to us. Definitely. What did she say? Let me just cut this recording off. Stop recording. Did she say what kind of trouble? Because we're really light on audience, I think, today, and I did she might have been using an old link. I've used a link for same link for the longest time, and we did a new link with the new invites. Maybe she was using an old link. I have a feeling that's what happens. People get used to using the same link. And but every 6 months or a year, I usually have to add a new link because it runs through the whole meeting roster.
Well, I had difficulties too, and I used the latest link, but it asked me for my business Zoom account, and I'm logging in from home. I don't have a business Zoom account.
Oh.
And then it had to send me, several numbers to put in. So it was very complicated. I had to try numerous times. So I don't know, maybe the other people.
I'll check.
I had trouble too, John. Yeah. I had to do it several times. Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
That's why I'm on my phone. Yeah, it wouldn't take. Yeah.
Yeah, I tested this with Caitlin last night. I thought since I switched the I'm glad you guys said something about this. I thought maybe something happened. Uh, because we get a much bigger audience usually, and we have been. It's been growing. I'm sorry you had that difficulty, and I'll definitely look into that. Um, anyway,
So I'll send you some material on main chance. Thank you for listening. I
yeah,
appreciate it.
no, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you being here.
John, can I ask her one? I know you asked for the complaint, but they were successful. The last time we had discussed main chance and were helped to advocate to keep them open. They were successful. So what changed now? If really quickly.
Um, the city has come up with some complaints about it, but they're also saying that they are changing their priority to open better full shelters that are in the form of safe havens or stabilization beds. But of course, those are still full facilities by DHS. And this program serves people that maybe have had experience in the Department of Homeless Services system and have had bad experiences. You know, as we kind of know, New York City is the only city in the country that has the right to shelter. So people can come in, but then the shelter system itself has a lot of problems, and people are often put with many other people in very few single rooms, and people have bad experiences in the system. So these drop-in centers, and there are three in Midtown West, but only one over on the east side where Main Chance is. You know, people can pretty much come in and get out of the weather. They can have, it's not a full shelter. They sit in a chair, but there aren't any rules, and you know, they can get a number of services, and they can still hear and be encouraged to get into the main shelter system, because that's the place where you can eventually either get into supportive housing, or you can get a voucher. So it is like a first step to get into the system. So they serve a lot of people who are very suspicious of that system now because of past experiences.
Wow. I wonder if I was trying to look for the map, but I can't find it. I wonder if it's in that MX quadrant.
It's at 120 East 32nd Street. So I'm
How
not sure.
far east?
It's third in Lexington.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank
No,
you.
I'm sorry, Lexington and Park. I'm not very good at
Okay.
blocks.
Okay.
So thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
We'll
thank
support you
you.
as much as we can.
That's great.
This is why we have so much situations on the street. All the centers and all the mental hospitals that house the people, the SROs that kept people, you know, individuals safe and covered, right? These are the things that they are trying to dismantle, and then you wonder why there are people on the street and all kinds of craziness. But you're taking away the services that the people need. I mean, this elitist classist kind of society that is turning into, where we don't even help the less fortunate of our own, is really despicable, and it's sad. And then you wonder why people are going ballistic on the streets. Well, you've taken away every safety net that people have. Only for what? For more luxury housing? And then you tell us there's no housing. I mean, it makes no sense. So
Yeah,
thank you.
that's a beautiful statement. I wish I'd recorded that. And you're right on. You're always you're always coming up with this fluid statements, and so right on.
Mm-hmm. But thank you. Well, whatever we need to do, protest, whatever, we have so many different issues here. It's ridiculous.
Right?
do.
Yeah.
And I don't know how these people keep getting well, we know the money, the lobbyists, but it's really, really crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
Really crazy.
Okay, with that,
Thank you.
we'll sign off. We'll close the Zoom here, and we'll pick up some of this discussion next month, and of course the council will be discussing this. Thanks again.